Red Sox are not done. They have a lot of work they need to do before players start reporting to Fort Myers for spring training. Well, we had Ranger Suarez's introductory press conference yesterday, and we finally got Sam Kennedy and Craig Breslow talking to the media. So what is the next step for the Red Sox after the Ranger Suarez signing? That's what we're going to talk about in today's edition of the Red Sox Rundown. But before we do, we are exactly 70 followers away from 4,000 followers on our Instagram. It's right here at the Red Sox Rundown. I am posting daily short-form content over there, so make sure you don't miss out. If you have not already, go over to Instagram and follow us at the Red Sox Rundown. I'm going to leave that link in the comments and description of today's video. Don't miss out. Help us get to 4,000 followers as soon as possible. The league's been busy. It's been busy since we've last spoken. This was the first big move that happened yesterday. It happened literally last night. The Mets acquired right-hander Freddie Peralta from the Brewers. Jet Williams and Brandon Spratt were headed to Milwaukee, and I believe Tobias Myers is also headed back to the Mets as well. This is sad. The reason why I'm talking about this is because the Red Sox were linked to Freddie all offseason. I'm sad. I really, really wanted Freddie Peralta on this team. I do get that it would have been a very steep price. I believe Gordo said that this was the equivalent of early and like Franklin Arias or something like that, which would have been a hefty price for somebody that is a rental. But I still really wanted Freddie Peralta on the Red Sox. But alas, Ranger Suarez is now on the team. I'm very excited for him to be on the team as well. And we move on. The next thing that happened even later last night, Cody Bellinger and the Yankees have agreed to their contract. This was very obvious. It seems like Bellinger was going to go back. The Yankees decided to give him a full no-trade clause, so he decided to come back. Red Sox didn't do that for Bregman. But the Yankees get their guy back as well. And I didn't have this in here, but this also happened today. Mackenzie Gore got traded to the Texas Rangers. So the league is active. There are only a few weeks left before spring training. So therefore, it's time to man up and bring in another bat. This Red Sox lineup, this Red Sox team is incomplete. They cannot be satisfied with where they are right now. Now, will they be satisfied? Maybe. I'm worried about that, but they can't be because they have a glaring hole in the middle of their infield. We're going to talk about that here in a second because Breslow and Kennedy spoke yesterday. Ranger Suarez had his introductory press conference. The first time we've had an in-person introductory press conference in quite some time. So that was cool to see. But these two gentlemen right here spoke to the media. We're going to talk about those quotes, and we're going to talk about what's next for the Red Sox in a matter of moments. But before we do that, I do actually want to get the pulse of the nation here. Will the Red Sox make a significant move? And that's just like, will they make a big free agent signing? Will they make a big trade? Like, will they make any relatively significant move at all? We know they're going to make a move, I would hope, for a left-handed reliever unless they are content with the people they've brought in this offseason via trade. But other than that, will they make a significant move? Y for yes if you think they will, and for no if you think they will not. You let me know down below in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts right now. Here is what Craig Breslow had to say. On the Red Sox, just on the Red Sox in general, they asked about the identity of the team, and here's what he had to say. I don't think there's a question anymore that the identity of our team, the strength of our team, is going to be our pitching and our ability to prevent runs. So when one opportunity was closed off, I wouldn't say that there was a strong pivot in so much as there was an opportunity to reassess the opportunities in front of us and remained anchored to that commitment to improve our team. So strength is pitching, yes. Ability to prevent runs. Are you sure about that, Craig? Because while the team has gotten maybe a little bit better at first with Wilson Contreras, and you would assume if Meyer stays healthy, you've got a pretty good third baseman, this was still the team that led the league in errors last year. Are you seriously going to look me in the eye and say, oh, yeah, our identity is going to be preventing runs in the field and pitching really well? They'll pitch well, of course. But, again, this is a team that's coming off of being the most errored team in all of baseball. That seems a little rich to me. Breslow understands that, though, and here's what he had to say in his next quote. He said, it's really important that we improve our defense. particularly our infield defense. Any additions that we may make will be very mindful of the defensive skill set. So there has been a clear pivot from Craig Breslow, from the front office this offseason. They went into the offseason saying we needed to add big power in the middle of the lineup. We needed to add a big bat with the 40-50 home run plus home run ability. And they didn't do that. Pete Alonso is on the Orioles. Kyle Schwarber is on the Phillies. Alex Bregman is on the Cubs. Kyle Tucker is a Met, or a Dodger, excuse me. He's a Dodger. All these guys are not on your team. So now they've got to push for defense. They kind of have to go the bargain bin route with no power, but all defense. And that's good and all, yes. Are they going to pitch well? Yes. They've got one of the best rotations in all of baseball. They're going to pitch well. If you get a Nico Hoerner and Isaac Paredes or somebody, and you've got good defense, you're going to play good defense, yes. But defense and good pitching isn't all that matters in baseball. You need somebody to hit. And Rob Bradford put this out earlier this morning, and this was perfect. This was literally a perfect just thought of this entire the flaw in the Red Sox thinking here. Reminder, the Rangers led the majors in ERA last year, but didn't make the playoffs. And they went 16-62 when scoring 3 or fewer runs. You can have the best ERA, but if you're scoring 3 or fewer runs, that's not a recipe to make the playoffs. The Red Sox lineup is fine, but they strike out far too much. They really have not fixed the runners in scoring position issue. They haven't really done anything. You brought in Wilson Contreras. Great. That's awesome. But you've also lost Alex Bregman. You're still trying to replace the 40 home run potential of Rafael Devers, and you haven't done that. So it's all great going after defense, but how are we going to score more than 3 runs or 3 or more runs every night? That's an issue that they're going to have to address. Will they address it in a big way this offseason? I don't think so. There's not a lot of options left. But you guys can see why I'm at least a little bit concerned about the direction of the Red Sox going into 2026. What's more important? You let me know, though. Is it hitting or is it the defense? Type H if you think it's hitting. Type D if you think it's defense. I also put pitching in the defensive category, too. That's all kind of the same. H for hitting, offense. D for defense/pitching. You let me know down below in the comments. I think defense and hitting and pitching is very important. It can win you and lose you ball games, but you also got to score runs at the end of the day. You got to cross home plate at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. And if you're not doing that, this doesn't really matter. So you let me know. H for hitting, D for defense. What do you think is the most important down below? Interesting note from Jen McCaffrey. We're talking about the infield, where people are going to be. There's an assumption here that Marcelo Mayer is going to be playing a big role in this team next year. Well, we might have at least a little bit of an insight as to where he's going to play. Though Breslow wouldn't commit to Mayer at second or third base, a source with the team recently noted a preference for Mayer at third. After Bregman's injury last season, Mayer played well at the position, but there's also an idea of keeping him on the same side of the field as his natural shortstop position, which makes a lot of sense. Keep him where he's comfortable. That would rule out Isaac Paredes. Would you move him over to second? I don't really think so. I think if anything, you move him to first. But that, if that's true, and they prefer Mayer at third, and they're going to be looking for an ultra, really good elite defensive second baseman, that's not Isaac Paredes. So we've been talking about him for this past week, but all those reports lean that that might not be what they're going to go to. I will say that it doesn't mean that that's not going to happen. Chris Cotillo had this tweet, and he wanted to make it abundantly clear that he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know any timelines. He doesn't know any names. But what he does know is that the Red Sox are involved in serious trade talks all over the place when it comes to adding to the positional player group. Very vague, but basically what he's saying is they have a lot of irons and a lot of different fires. And that's good, but what does that mean? I don't know. They've got some high-value trade chips. They can try to swing a high-value trade. But if we're connecting the dots here, elite defensively, they want Mayer at third. You've got a hole at second base. You're leaning defense over power production. Sounds a lot like Nico Hoerner to me. And we've talked about Nico Hoerner a few times on this channel since Bregman's left. Does this mean that Nico Hoerner is legitimately, seriously in play for the Red Sox? There's some rumors. What would it look like? Here's what Jen McCaffrey had to say. The Cubs, according to The Athletic's Shadav Sarma, excuse me if I butcher that name, would be seeking a big league pitcher with upside in addition to a top prospect. A steep but perhaps necessary return for a Red Sox team vying to contend in 2026. The reason I bring up Nico Hoerner is because earlier in that piece from Jen McCaffrey, she said that Hoerner would be a perfect fit based on everything that she's hearing. So, hypothetical trade. Major League starting pitcher with high upside. Connelly early, okay? High-ranking prospect. Franklin Arias. And you get Nico Hoerner. I think that's kind of a crazy overpay for a rental. I won't lie. Do I like giving up Connelly early and Franklin Arias for a rental? No. But, let's be real, guys. Let's open our eyes. At this point, we don't really have a choice. You've got a gaping hole in the middle of your infield. Trevor Story has regressed defensively. Marcelo Mayer, we don't know if he can stay healthy for more than 90 games out of a year. You don't know who your second baseman is. You don't have a second baseman. And then Wilson Contreras, he's okay at first, but he's a natural catcher. So you've got a problem in the infield still. And if your identity is going to be really good defense in the infield with a bunch of pitchers that force soft contact and ground balls, you need elite defense in the infield. And Nico Hoerner would be that. Offensively, again, look, we've talked about Hoerner on the channel a few times now. Power-wise, none of it. His most home runs in a season, 10 in 2022. He's not going to overpower you. He does hit the ball for average, though. He's a demon on the base paths, and he drives runners in. That can be valuable. And if you look at his Baseball Savant page, there are metrics here that I like. Whiff rate is in the 95-plus percentile, as well as the K rate. Doesn't strike out. Doesn't swing and miss. That's really great. Expected batting average, really, really good. Those are valuable stats for a team that strikes out far too much and does not hit with runners in scoring position. And then you've got the defense. Arm strength, I'm not really looking at. He's at second base. I don't really think that matters. The range is what matters. What is that? What is that? For 98 percentile? Is that what that says? Did I say 98%? 98 percentile range. That's elite. Base running value in the 90, 95, 96 percentile. Fielding value, 97 percentile. If you're trying to get elite fielding and base running, that's Nico Hoerner. Do I want to do that? And I'm going to confirm this. I'm basically positive, but I want to make absolutely sure here that I have this right. I do. Are you willing to pay the price for a rental? That's what it's going to come down to. $12 million this year, and you'd have to give up a haul. But at this point, you don't have a choice. So you let me know. Would you trade for Nico Hoerner? T for trade if you would, P for pass if you would not. Let me know down below in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. I would at this point. Again, the Red Sox don't have a choice. If they're not going to go after third baseman, if Marcelo Mayer is going to be your third baseman, which I don't really agree with, I'd rather go after Isaac Paredes and then make Mayer and Romy a platoon at second. I'd rather do that. But if you're not going to do that, Nico Hoerner is by far the best choice. Now, Ken Rosenthal did say earlier today that he doesn't think they're going to trade him. But if the price is right, anything's possible. T for trade, P for pass. You let me know down below in the comments. That's it, folks. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this edition of the Red Sox Rundown. When moves happen, we will make videos. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. 10K by opening day is our goal, and we are slowly but surely getting closer to that goal. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not already. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll have another video this weekend. We'll have a little Q&A video that you guys sent in a bunch of really good questions for. Thank you all, and until next time, go Sox.